Hello everyone and welcome back to the Cyclocross Social podcast. Today we're going to be discussing the 10th round already of the UCI Cyclocross World Cup, which took place here in Benidorm. And with me to discuss the action, not coming from Benidorm, but as always here with his knowledge and intelligence, Issam, thank you for being here.
Intelligence as well. Well, thank you for having me. And I'm here just in the Netherlands, enjoying the race from the broadcast, which wasn't too bad either.
I'm here on my balcony, and the only reason that I'm starting here for the viewers on the YouTube is because I wanted to show my view without dropping my laptop from the balcony. If you look over here behind me, kind of right around here where my finger is right now, that there, the red tape there is from the course in front of those buildings. And I watched a few laps of the men's under 23 race from my balcony, which is a new type of luxury, and it really made me realize that for the next World Championships in Hogerheide, we got to crowdfund a budget to hire one of those apartments up there so we can watch it from our own penthouse. Now I'm trying to fix the light here so it doesn't look like I'm a complete ghost, but it was a good day here, Issam, and they made quite some changes to that course, which they're busy breaking down right now. But yeah, they moved the start finish to the main climb. They had a new sandpit on the old start finish. They added another climb into the course. Most riders I spoke to were quite positive about it. According to them, it made the race quite a bit harder, the changes they made, because all of a sudden there was now a full section of 4 minutes on the course in which it was just acceleration after acceleration after acceleration. The lower speed, because of the chewed upness of the bottom part of the course, also factored in there. The muddy off camber, it's probably the best event here, and with that they're getting more and more ready to host the World Championships. They are bidding and aiming for 2031, and I find it very hard to imagine anyone else getting it. The UCI already wanted to come here for the 2028 World Championships, I say from the top of my head. It could be, it's 2029, the year that was awarded to Treviso. They wanted to host that here, 2029, but that was too short. But they're improving here every single year. The attendance remains great. There's so much positives to say here. So many food options outside of the standard, different types of music. It's just a great event altogether, and I'm very happy that I was able to be here. And with this, the way it's going, it's definitely worthy of a world championship, in my opinion at least. I mean, it's not your typical Belgian farm cyclocross race, but it still has character, it has elements to it. It's really difficult today, and if the riders were positive about it, I think I am also positive about that, and I'm coming from a slightly different perspective than they are.
Yeah, and I think their perspective matters also quite a lot. So it's a very important take to consider when you are looking into what course is suitable for a world championship. And I think that they have done some very positive changes, and the changes have been positively received as well by the riders and team owners and all that. So I think that that is definitely good to see. I think that there are still some bottlenecks on the course, so there is still some work to try and fix the course to get it really into a world championships on a world championship level, I guess. But I think overall it's a very positive event overall, and it brings a different vibe to the World Cup. It's really it's standing out in a sense on the calendar when you see it as well, and it is just great to have it on. I really hope that this is something that can continue on for the years to come and can improve. And it is improving, to be honest, because if you see how it started and where it is right now already, I think that improvements have been made. And improvements, they are still able and willing to learn and improve even more. And I think that that is also something that you kind of need. You don't need the stubbornness of, we already at a very good level, but they are willing to try and do things on the course, prove it. So I think that that is definitely a very positive take and positive overall to see that they are doing that. And hopefully they can continue on. And I think that the World Championships here would be quite interesting.
Definitely, I mean, the racing here overall is typically quite good. I don't think we can really say the same for the men's race this year. The whole week the question was, is Van der Poel going to start, yes or no? The initial program said to be determined, then he was added on the wait list. The Dutch Federation saying, yeah, we added him, decision will be made later, because earlier he said, 90% sure we're not going to start there. Later this week the decision was no, but then yesterday on Saturday around noon the decision came, yeah, he wants to do it. And honestly, I thought he was going to start here because they paid him some money and he kind of felt bored on the road and would just want to kind of chill here. But that he didn't really have the ambitions to put down a statement. But boy, was I wrong with that assumption, because it seemed more like he wanted to do his high intensity training on a cyclocross course rather than on the road today, because right from the start he was there. Del Grosso leading the charge, but Van der Poel took over super quickly. Arch crashed on the barriers. It was just the two of them. He dropped an absolute bomb. And then afterwards he said, yeah, I was surprised I was alone so long. Dude, that was absurd acceleration by him. He was gone, never seen again by anyone, 30 seconds by the second lap. And from then, it just looked like he was doing his intervals, like I said. It was almost like he was just preferring his training on the cross bike, the old-fashioned way. There's no force to train here in the weekend or in the middle of the week, then we'll just do it in the race on the weekend, because he was dominant as ever. There was an interesting battle for second place unfolding, very big group of riders there. But towards the end of the race, Felipe Orts first place in attack. He broke away, almost in the road dynamics. Nobody really willing / able to chase him. Nice then bridged across and dropped him, but Orts held on enough to fend off Del Grosso, who kind of blew up, but also didn't really seem at his best today. There was some suffering on his face, which is something you don't really see too often. And Orts getting the podium in front of his home crowd, amazing there. But we'll circle back to that podium battle first. First, of course, I think Van der Poel, Issam, just we can be short about it. Simply the best, came here, and as soon as we knew he started, we expected he would win. I didn't expect him to win in this fashion. I thought he would take it more easy and lay back, be a bit tired, not really willing to tire himself more. He's been doing a lot of road riding this week, couple of 200-kilometer plus rides, but I was wrong. He definitely wanted to lay down a mark today and did so.
I thought that Del Grosso would have been able to follow. I immediately got my answer there on that start finish straight first lap. It was done. It was just completely done, and fair play. I mean, it's just every time you think like, okay, well, this is typically a race in which you normally will have kind of like peloton in a way riding around. There's maybe one or two that try to break it in a sense, and then eventually the race gets harder and harder. The legs get fuller, and everyone is just lactating, is having trouble overall to get through the course well, and then it's like time for Van der Poel to strike. But now it was just almost the opposite. I mean, he was, him and Del Grosso got that gap in a sense because they were the first two, but also because of Toon Aerts and his trouble there at the barriers, and then they had that gap. Van der Poel looked behind and knew, okay, now I have to put some pressure, make use of the gap that I have, and oh boy, he did. And I'm trying to think of if there was something more impressive that I have seen so far from him this season.
Zonhoven.
I think yeah. But this was up there as well. This was really good. This was on this course to do what he did there. Del Grosso was he attempted because he really wanted to be there on his wheel, but denied. He was very hard denied there, and I think it was a very impressive race from his side. It is within the expectations that we can have from him, but in a sense, you think, okay, he had a very hard training week. He's probably going to take it easy for the first 40 minutes and then make his way to the front, if he isn't already at the front, and make sure that the win is his. But he did the opposite in a sense, and fair play. That's all you can say. And this is one of those courses where you were hoping that maybe a nicer Del Grosso could play a certain role, and they did in a sense, but they did that behind him, and he was just too good.
Yeah, I think that's really all there is to say about Van der Poel. It was an impressive ride, by far the most powerful rider here. You need a lot of power on this course. He kind of cruised off at the end. He could have won here by a minute. I mean, yeah, Is this more impressive than Zonhoven? Maybe. That acceleration certainly sticks. That was really a tough one. We know, of course, from previous years that he's done it here 2 years ago, that famous video of him absolutely launching it up there. But you expect it, but it's still good to remember that it's a special performance. And if you then look at, I think, the overall pecking order, First of all, let me start by saying that for everything that we're going to say now, and with that, I don't really want to repeat that all the time, we're in the phase of the season where everything means something, but something also means nothing. People are training differently towards the World Championships, so it doesn't have to mean anything. A good day today can mean somebody is on the way back. A good day today can also mean that they have a totally different approach to the World Championships. It doesn't have to mean anything. So with that, I feel that we are free to discuss a bunch of other results because there are definitely some interesting ones. First, for me, the overall pecking order I thought was quite clear at the first lap. Like Van der Poel gone, then behind Nys and Del Grosso, and then behind that bigger pack. That's kind of how I see the pecking order for the World Championships as well. That would be my top 3 for the podium, but that was not the podium today. Thibaut Nys, I think he rode a very calculated race. He stayed in that group. He didn't have, his start itself was okay, but then in that first corner, like where everything shot into the woods, he kind of got caught up on the inside and then couldn't really get his way to the front. He therefore also didn't really have he tried to bridge after Orts crashed, but then he also very quickly realized that there was no way to follow Van der Poel today. Was that his savior? Maybe. I wouldn't necessarily go as far as saying that Del Grosso completely blew up there. I think, yes, Del Grosso went quite deep in that opening lap to kind of stay within touching distance of Van der Poel, but there was also a very long, relatively calm middle part of the race. And in that part of the race, Del Grosso and Nys both sat in that pack, kind of let Nieuwenhuis do most of the heavy lifting in the group. And Del Grosso then didn't have necessarily what it took at the end of the race, which is fine. Whereas Nys waited, saved his energy, then saw Orts go, realized the danger, and then did have the legs to catch Orts, unlike in the beginning of the race when he didn't have the legs to catch Van der Poel. Nys second, also what you would expect on this course. More surprising perhaps, the third place of Orts. I mean, he's always able to pull a special one out of the bag in front of his home crowd here, but to then also do it like this and finish on the podium here is a tremendous performance. This is, probably the best Orts we've seen this season, other than maybe at the very beginning, because if you remember his season, he was really, really good in the first race in Molenbeek, blew his hat off, could have won there, had a good phase, then flamed out, slowly was on his way back. The signs were there the last couple of weeks, but then still to do it here and beat that from that group, those riders, was special. And I think Orts also was lucky in a way that Nys came across, because had Nys waited longer and just let that gap hang at 10 seconds, then just like in a road race, you can be caught again and be swamped up. Now Nys came across, he could sit in the wheel of Nys for a while and really hold on to that lead over the riders coming from behind.
You know, strategically, the move that he made mid race to try and break away from that pack, I think we have seen that move being tried by other riders in these type of races, and it doesn't always work out well. I don't even think it worked out well. I think only once or so, but I struggle to find examples. At the end, it was a very good move because he got a bit of room there. He got a bit of space because I think Del Grosso was not really feeling the race all too well. I guess he was not having the legs that he would have liked to have. And Nys was as you said, was racing quite calculated because I think as well that he had the legs to do that. To me, it seemed like he was by far second best today. There was just a difference between him and the rest that finished behind him. Picked his moment as well to bridge that gap quite well on the start finish, because he knew that if he would, launch himself there, most likely will not have any passengers on board, and he would be arriving alone to Orts, and who knows, maybe Orts is willing to ride. At that point, Orts was only really able to follow, I guess, and Nys gave him that opportunity. He signed to him, said, okay, stay in my wheel. That was a very nice gesture. They have a good relationship, and it showed there as well. And I think that Orts then had to fight for his life, and maybe that helped in a sense that there was a Nys that was willing to somewhat help, to somewhat wait for him at moments that Orts was struggling just that tiny bit. But nevertheless, I think this race for Orts must be just that little bit below world championship. This is, for him, one of the main objectives to do well here in this race. And he was talking about hoping for a podium before the weekend, and to be able to get that done is definitely not something that I expected, but also quite incredible for Spanish cyclocross overall and for the region and for himself, his fans. I think that is just massive that he was able to pull that off. And I think that Nice rode a very smart race, but I think that also his legs allowed him to do that. He was just really good, and I think that if he was able to be in the wheel of Van der Poel on the first lap, I think that he would definitely have been able to follow a little bit longer than Del Grosso would have. He would have been dropped eventually, because I don't think that he would have been able to follow Van der Poel today, but you don't know how Van der Poel would be racing. If Nijs was in his wheel, he might take it easy for a lap or two and then go again, and maybe would have had another race scenario. But that is, a what if kind of scenario, and that's not how we should be working. And I think that he rode a good race, very deserved second place. And I think for Orts, maybe today Del Grosso was a little bit better, but that doesn't matter whatsoever. He rode a fantastic race. He fought his heart out. It was an incredible ride, and it was, I was cheering for him. I was really hoping that he would pull that off, that he was going to finish on the podium, and I think so were many watching as well, both on at the course as people watching on television. I think, the support that he got there through the TV screens, it was quite incredible.
Really? You don't say that they were loud on the course. You don't say. my ears are still buzzing. Like, the Spanish fans are just such class. I mean,
Yeah.
it's nice to have like a totally different subset of spectators here. And there's always, and those stories, you read them again and again. Oh, the race is only a success because of the Belgians that are here, that live here in the winter and come here. Come on, like, put some respect on this event. By far, the majority of ticket sales here are to Spaniards. 80% of ticket sales to Spanish people. So, and you heard that. The cheers for Orts were the loudest for anyone. So, it was really great, and it's also really a milestone. I mean, I was just going over the results of Orts here, because every year he's done really well here, Issam. But in the terms of the results, like the first time, 9th. Year later, 8th. Last year he was 6th, and now he's 3rd. What you could, I think, kind of see is that every year he was really giving it his all. You said race below world championships for him. I fully agree with you there. He was really giving his everything for this. And in past years, he was kind of more caught up in that group racing dynamic, where there was a larger group still fighting for the win, so he didn't really have that place and that time to anticipate, which is what he really needed to do. And now we're talking as if this is a road classic, but even though it was a bit muddy, it was still fast. But it's just like in the Tour of Flanders. If you're not the one able to hang on the Oude Quaremont or the Paterberg, then you need to go somewhere on Koppenberg, Taaienberg, before the Pogacar era that was. But you need to go in advance, get your way up, and then hang with the group and then ride to a good result. The Dylan van Baarle strategy. And Orts, he could do that today, because it was very quickly clear to all those others, hey, we're racing for second place. And then the race dynamic shifts, and there's people like Nijs and Del Grosso race differently than, like, for instance, Nijs last year when he was racing for the win here, or think about the year before when we had that big other battle with Van Aert winning then, when his saddle fell off on the barriers. Like, the dynamics change, and for Orts that I think was a blessing, because he could really finally get that done. Because in years past here, I feel he raced roughly the same, attentive in the beginning, then tried to make a move somewhere, but then it always didn't work, and now it finally worked. And that's also kind of a attribute to keep believing and keep pushing and keep trying, and eventually it sticks. And that time was today for Orts. And I also must say I love the blue helmet, because it makes him instantly more recognizable. And helmet designs, personal helmet designs in cycling are something that should become more and more of a thing, because it's the one place where you can kind of differentiate yourself. Like, imagine if all those Poel Sauze guys at the under-23 national championships had their own helmet last week, or if all those Crelan Corendon guys after the world championships don't all race in the same helmet. They can race in the same brand, but they can just put like a personal touch on it, like Orts has done here. That would be really great. But that's a totally different side venture. I think Orts just benefited from that, and maybe in terms of performance, I think a coin toss is something. If we go into the final lap with that big group for second place 10 times, I think we're going to get a different result 10 times as well. There were so many riders, they were so evenly matched, and all I could think about is like when other riders came in, like Del Golso completely knackered over the finish line with Van der Putten. We almost need those Vuelta pushers, the ones on the steep finishes, like the Angliru and the
Yeah.
Los Machuzos that push them. We could use some of them here because this new finish is just so brutal, and that mass sprint for fifth place, because Del Grosso started with a small lead, that was definitely an interesting one as well. Hendricks maybe launching a bit too early, but a good ride, I think, for him. And I mean, there's plenty of riders there as well, but yeah, if I had to choose a ride of the day, it would still be Orts.
You cannot get around that. I think that was, yeah, by far today on the men's side especially was race of the day. And I must say that in the previous editions I had of course you had then certain races, you had Van Aert and Van der Poel, so it's obviously a bit harder than to get on that podium spot, but he entered this race, I guess, with, in my opinion at least, I had less expectations than I had in the previous years. And he was, as you said, the season wasn't coming to this in the most positive curve, in a sense. It was, yeah, there were some signs for sure, but a sign for a third place is, I didn't see that. It had to come. I was just happy that he was able to pull it off, and I think that is also, maybe it means that now for next year there are more expectations, but I think also he can tick it off in a sense, and it is maybe, the pressure has been taken off for this race overall, that, you have already achieved it once, and now you can maybe go into this race with less pressure. The questions are not going to be more focused on result, but maybe more on experience overall, and I think that is just positive. That's positive to see.
Some people were saying at some places there was the first World Cup podium for Orts, but that much is definitely not true. He's been on the podium before, Dublin for instance last year, but nevertheless a great ride by him. To do it in front of his home crowd really meant something to the people there. Think, if we look for the rest at the top 10, Van der Poel, Nijs, Orts, Del Grosso, we've covered the top 4. Del Grosso, I don't think, had a good day, just to reiterate that. He, again, the final lap of him is good. He kind of was hanging there, passed by Gros Lambert, 8th, 9th place, and then in the final lap he still manages to straighten his back and really push himself through to the front and get the most out of it at that moment. Perhaps he could have taken on Orts, but again, there's more than just physicality to this sport. Luckily, that would be, because else we would just be watching watt bikes, and I don't really like that, and I like this more. 5th place for Niels van der Putten, good ride for him. Hendrik 6th, 7th place for Nieuwenhuis. He kind of blew his hat off, I think, in the first part of the race. Gros Lambert, 8th place, great ride by him ahead of Toon Aerts. Aerts also a good ride, 9th place, doesn't really reflect his race in my opinion. 10th for Wieseuren. I think here maybe a few riders that we need to talk about. Issam starting with Mees Hendricks, I think. Another good result by him, and he's really been going well in the last couple of races. His Dutch championships were a little bit disappointing. He broke 3 spokes in the first corner, needed to run to the pits, recover to 5th place. Said he felt strong and hoped to be a podium contender there, but all hope was lost. Now he rebounds here with a 6th place. We of course remember in Diegem, a very good result by him as well there, 4th. His other races over Christmas in the World Cup have been good. Top 10s in Dendermonde, Gavere, Kokzijde, Namur. Now also here in Benidorm and Zonhoven. He's had a really, really good season, especially on the World Cup circuit, and that's definitely worth applauding.
I have not much to add on that. I think that it was a very good race from his side, and he just finds himself with very good legs, and he can make use of that. And overall, this season has been, the moments that he was able to make use of it and to score well. I think that he has been exceptional for what you can expect from him in a sense, and he has been overachieving in my opinion. It is obviously it's in a sense it's a bit difficult to focus on these type of results, because you always try to look to the bigger names and the riders that are more regularly in the top five and fighting for podiums and all that. But I think that with Hendricks, you have a rider that has been a very stable factor up to a point for that top 10 and close, being close to that top 5. And I think that is also something that you have to have to respect and applaud, as you say. And I think that definitely shouldn't go unmentioned. It has been a very, very, very strong season. I think that Heizelmat Cube should be very happy with their rider, and this is already going towards a very strong season. And for the World Championships, there are possibilities for him as well to finish there very strong, and maybe try and look there for a very good top 10. And who knows, if everything goes well, maybe even top 5. But the top 10 is definitely possible for him if he has his day.
Top 5, I think, will be a little bit of a stretch, but definitely a top 10 is what he should be aiming for. I mean, Lars van der Haar wasn't necessarily here today. He's not necessarily a rider that, per definition, will beat Hendricks. Van Toerenhout was sick, but definitely some possibilities there. Then, I mean, I thought a long time. I mean, Orts had a great ride, but Martin Gros-Lambert, that was a captivating ride by him today. Relevation. Last week he lost out to Joris Delbove. I mean, you wonder what the Total Energies rider could have done here today, but he did really, really well today. He didn't have a great start. He moved his way up, came into that group. I think he got a little bit too carried away. In the penultimate lap, he took the lead, tried to make a move, and then paid the price a little bit in the final lap. But still, it was a really good ride by him. 8th place is not something I would have given him before. His other top result this season was 15th in the World Cup in Dendermonde. This is definitely another step on top of that. Yes, it's an atypical course. Yes, if you look at those two results and put one and one together, you might conclude that he's the best on fast courses. That much could be true, but still, you need to take the bull by the horns. You need to seize the opportunity, and he did so today. I was watching in this closed-off area after, just behind the finish line, and there were some national team coaches there as well. The French coach was walking back and forth quickly. Allez, allez, ça roule, plus vite, accélérez, accélérez. Really, really cheering him on. And also, in the same sense, we should mention Rémi Lelandais, another rider from France, and he finished 11th here today. Another good ride by him as well. Like, good results for the French here. I mean, good results for the French all day, maybe with the exception of the junior men category, but Gros-Lambert then tops Lelandais, but Lelandais is also definitely a rider that had a good result. The French, they were there today in the men elite category. I mean, I don't know when the last time was that the French had maybe Dubois and Venturini pulled this off together in one of the races, but two riders in the top 11, like it must have been a long time ago for the French.
I did not have that in my mind that there would be two French riders in the top 15, to be honest. But I think that the Gros-Lambert, as you said, fast courses is definitely something that he can manage to get through quite well. And I think that the way the race developed helped him as well, because there was just this middle part where if you had some problems or issues, or you were a bit further back, you were able maybe to move up and get back into the race. And he snatched that opportunity for sure. And who wouldn't be caught up in that enthusiasm of being up there and trying to take some initiative? I think he was in a position where it's so hard to control yourself in a sense. So, and you have to, that sometimes you have to just try and take those opportunities. It's not always going to work out well in terms of maximizing result, but I think that overall we can still look and say it was all right. It was quite good. So I think that he can be very happy and satisfied with his result. And it's a bit weird that that in cyclocross we have this thing where we always tend to say like, he's very, very good on the fast courses, or he's very good in the mud, or he's very well. If you look, for example, at the road, is when you have a climb, you don't really say that. It's like, yeah, he can climb well, but it's not really specifically that you put these tags on a rider. Well, in cyclocross, you more often do that, and it's interesting to see in a sense. But I think that a race like this is also part of cyclocross. It's part of it, and he just makes good use of it. And when he gets these courses, you still have to have a good day, because look at Del Grosso. This is a course where he normally was going to be able to maybe challenge a Thibaut Nys, and he wasn't because he didn't really have the legs. He didn't really have it, and then you're not able to make the most out of such a course and the circumstances and all that. So it's not only the course that is going to help you. You need more than that. You need also very good legs. And you need a good form, and I guess he has both at this point.
Well, I think it's more, we don't expect a sprinter to do well on a mountain stage, and we don't expect a climber to do well on a cobbled stage. So therefore, it's useful to just create the context of, hey, this person is maybe very good on a fast course, but not necessarily in a mud course. But then the question is, when have we had mud this season? And for that, we need to go back a very long time. I mean, we had a few races with some snow, but other than that, it's not been a good season for the riders who love the mud. And I was really impressed by Gosselin-Bert. I mean, today is just such a power-heavy course, and then to deliver it like this is something. I just checked it. Venturini and Dubois did it once. That was last year in Benidorm, 10th and 11th. So this one definitely has a bit more of a special feel to it, mainly because I hold Venturini and Dubois in higher regard than Gosselin-Bert and Lelandais. But still, a really good ride by both of them, and especially for Gosselin-Bert, captivating. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily go as far as saying as this could be a career-defining performance. Like, we'll see how it goes, and can he replicate this? And next week in Hoogheide, if that's a fast course, what can he put out there? Again, everything means something, and something means nothing at this point. We don't know how he's trained as opposed to the rest. We don't know how the heat. It wasn't that hot here. Let's not over-exaggerate, but it was definitely warmer than that we've had in any cross since October. So those are all factors that play in, and the paved climb versus the unpaved climb, like, that's another major thing here. Like, you have fast courses sometimes in Belgium, but they're pancake flat, and here there's a lot of climbing in there. So that also takes an effect here on the performances, and that's, for instance, why this is not a great course for Zoe Backstedt, because it's too climby heavy. So it's a very atypical race, but therefore also a race that would be great as a world championship, because it will give a bunch of other riders the opportunity. And Namur is also a super atypical race, and Namur is also very much praised for being such a difficult course and one where the mountain bikers can excel. And if we have one here where maybe more, I mean, Gosselin-Bert is not a road rider, but you get the sense, like, if this one suits the less technical skilled riders more, and the ones who can put out power on the climb, yeah, then so be it. I love cyclocross for this, because it gives different opportunities to different riders depending on the day, the course, the condition. It's great to see. Maybe you'll have something to add about the women's race then, because that was the scenario that I also had hoped to see on the men's side. A big leading group for the most part of the race. First, Shirin van Anrooij at the front of the race, then later Zemanova took over. We had also at the front of the race Blanca Vash. She quickly faded towards the back end of the top 10. We had two Dutch riders, Brandt and Alvarado, two French riders, Gery and Foucounet, mainly with Zemanova. Those five riders were at the front of the race for most of it. Zemanova made the push in the middle of the race, couldn't quite make it stick. Brandt, after keeping herself calm for most of the race, made a move with 2.5 laps to go, I would say, from the top of my head, broke clear, restored the order, one could say. It's now officially 2 years. 2 years on a podium, straight, every race finish. Today, the top step. Good ride. Her attack was an attack like we've seen it many times before. Just hit the front, put down the power, slowly but surely tire the rest. Alvarado was leading the group for second place, putting Foucounet and Gery under pressure. Then she made a mistake on the off-camber. Foucounet and Gery came back, dropped her. I didn't see that mistake because the sun was right on the screen, so I couldn't see it. I thought she was really struggling. To me, it at that point seemed like she pulled that one from the gates of the hell, really from the trenches, that second place in the last lap. But she was already kind of the leading force of that group. Managed to repack herself, drop them. We got a sprint for third place with Foucounet and Gery. Foucounet holding not much on the line over Gery for third place, but Brandt back on top. Good ride by her. What's there to say? Is she physically much stronger than in Zonhoven or in the Dutch Nationals in Heubergen last week? Difficult to tell. This is more of a Brandt course than an Alvarado course. I think Alvarado rode quite well. Her start was not great. Needed to put in some effort to come back. This is just very much a power course. Like, for me, it's hard to come up with a course that suits Alvarado worse than this. Like the climbing part is the only thing I could really attribute to Alvarado here. She goes well uphill, but yeah, I'm not ready to throw the towel yet. I think Alvarado showed good form today. Brandt also showing good form. Two of them growing towards their peak performance. Who knows what Pietersen can do, who was training on the roads here today. Like, we could be in for a good one with those three up front, and especially Alvarado. Again, I think it's a good ride by her. Brandt was just too strong today, just physically has that edge. But if there's more technical skill required, Alvarado is within the ballpark. I'm not saying this because I want to diminish the performance of Brandt. I want to highlight and stipulate that her season has been very impressive, very good. Her podium streak is absolutely absurd, and I hope it will last until the end of her career for that matter, because I do enjoy seeing her up there, and it's impressive at that age. But I'm also a fan of close racing, and that doesn't take away anything from the performance of Brandt or Van der Poel, but I like to see a good old fight and a sprint, like especially on this finish. A sprint is phenomenal, and yeah, today we didn't get that. Brandt restored the order back to usual, but I'm not predicting easy wins in the upcoming weeks for her.
Ooh, I don't know. I don't know if I would go that far. I think it told us something today, because Brandt was really at one point in the race. She kind of was like, "Okay, I'll let you all just figure it out, and when you have figured it out a little bit, just let me know, and I will be there at the front again." And when she powered away, it was back to somewhat vintage Brandt in a sense that we have seen so far this season. So it is, in a sense, I struggle to see if we see a Brandt now that has improved from. Of course, it looked all way better than what we saw at the national championships, but I think the feeling was also quite good. You know, you saw a Brandt that was getting through the course with quite some confidence and was feeling quite well, and was overall doing everything. Everything went well. So I think that was a Brandt that really showed that she was in her element, doing her thing. And I think with Alvarado, it was just a race where she had to do a lot of catching up. And when she made that mistake, I had the feeling that she really gave it her all to try and catch Brandt a little bit back. And maybe that cost her a little bit, and she had to kind of get back to save herself a little bit to have something left for the last lap. And you know, both French riders were definitely putting her under pressure, but you know, she kind of found herself again and was able to pull that off, because I think that she was the second best rider today. It is shown in the result, obviously, but I think that overall in the race it was also quite visible. And as you said, we shouldn't draw that many conclusions, because you don't really know how someone's week went, and it is an atypical course. Next week we will get some courses that will be more cyclocross-ish in a sense, and then we have to wait and see how that will play out. And again, that will also be difficult, because we have seen certain results at Hogerheide where we were like, whoa, that is serious now. And then come World Championship, everything that you saw and you thought was serious was all phony, didn't even matter all that much. So I think that is the risk of trying to look too much into results in the coming weeks, leading up to the World Championships today and also next weekend. But it is a risk I'm somewhat willing to take. I think you are as well, and we will follow it through and we'll see where we'll end up. But I think that for Brandt, I will not change my mind on that. I think that she, if we talk about the World Championship, she has to do what she has to do, and I think she will have the edge. But you never know. You never know, and everything has to go well, and that is probably where maybe an Alvarado or Pietersen could play a role if they have the form as well and they are very well prepared and the racing goes well for them. Then there is definitely something possible. And for next weekend, I think that we will just see a Brandt that will most likely win. And I think, I wouldn't say comfortably, but she should normally have the edge, because I think both Pietersen and Alvarado are thinking about the World Championships. They're not thinking about this week, and they're not thinking about next week.
Well, Brandt is also not thinking about this week or next week, but in Maasmechelen I can definitely see Brandt not win. That is a good course for Alvarado and also a good course for Pietersen. Hogerheide a different matter, but this is not a preview for that. I think what we saw was a strong Brandt today, but still, I see plenty of points for Alvarado. Maybe I'm gaslighting myself into that, but I like what I saw from
I don't
Alvarado
know.
today. I liked what I saw from Brandt today. It was calm and collective, but I also think that, or at least I was thinking this during the race, the style of like waiting for this long for Brandt was perhaps also a little bit of something to do with the confidence from the last few races, that she wasn't as sure of herself and not really willing to or able to really put down the hammer in the second or the first lap. I think it's smart on this course. First of all, in these races before the World Championships, you don't want to go completely hammer and need to recover. Secondly, with all the road racing dynamics here and how fast the course is, it's sometimes also better to let others take the initiative. She did that. I mean, Zemanova was probably thinking, wow, I'm here in the top 5. Let me take this opportunity, see if I can get away, see if I can do a Ribeiro. Well, that didn't work. And Zemanova blew up a bit, and it's fine. I think 5th was always where she was going to finish, and there's absolutely no shame that she tried that move. She raced and tried to get a podium. It didn't work. Fine. And then once all those dynamics played out, Brandt took her opportunity. Completely fine. But I do think, or at least at some point it crossed my mind, and I don't know if it's that serious, but I did think, maybe Brandt is just a little bit more cautious now. And in that sense, again, I liked what I saw from Alvarado. Yeah, she made that mistake on the off-camber. That was not very Alvarado-like. She very rarely makes those mistakes, but all in all, this is also not a course for her, so I'm happy with what I saw from her. And, I mean, if we're going to talk about them, what did I also like? I like what I saw from the French today, because especially Célia Gery, I mean, just take a bow. What a ride, like a levitating ride by Gery. This was really, really good. This is a second year under 23. And yeah, around the Koppenberg, there was a bit of a buzz in Belgium about her, but now back to the background, nobody really cares. A French flag, the national champions jersey, this is how it should look. Paul Sousa, take notes, like for next year, if Foucault is champion again, you better design your jersey looking like that, because that looked really great. And okay, Foucault won that sprint, good ride by Foucault, good course for her. Don't really want to downplay that, because it is another good result, but by now, this season, we're used to Foucault doing that, especially on this course. But we said it, I think, after Dendermonde, there will be one race, and then Gery sets out hard, and it's going to click for her, and it will stick until the end, and that day was today.
I was like, surely not. When they went up the stairs, I was surely not. Surely she's not going to get that third place from Foucault. And it would have been disgusting if she was able to pull that off. I'm not gonna lie, because man, national title and then doing that on top of that, I think it followed up just a little too quickly there. So I think that it was in a way also for Foucault. It was good to see that she was able to get that third place, but I think that Gery today again, but the way she was riding as well, it was smart, because she was, I think in every move she was always second or third and just, rolling with the pack. And I think in a way she has to do that, because she's normally a rider that will always struggle against the competition in a sense, but she's very smart in that, the way she races. And I think there are not that many riders that when they are in that position, we talk about Gros Lambert, that he was in that position, and then your enthusiasm, you're like, oh, I have good legs, I have great legs, I'm gonna try, 2 laps to go. Let me just get in front here. Let me just get the whole show. Let me just show the world that I exist. And it's a weird feeling. It's hard to contain as a hold back and be like, okay, calm down. I have to, sit in the back and be smart here for a second. And I think she has that. You can see that throughout the whole race, that she was able to always be in a position where she has to follow and not where she has to lead. I think there was only once or twice where she was actually pacing a little bit, and it was not for the longest of periods. So smart race. That is definitely something that I noticed. And with this course and how fast it was and all that, I think that is obviously a race that fits Gery very well. As I said, it would have been disgusting if she was able to pull that off and be third. It would have been deservingly in a sense, because she rode a very strong race, but for Foucault, I mean, that would have been just, she would have been done dirty there, I think. And in a sense, she deserved that third place as well, because she did a lot of chasing. She did a lot of she took some initiative as well in the race. And for sure that is not how you win a race or you get your best result, but she got it in the end, and I think that everyone could be somewhat happy there in the top four with the way they were racing. And also Simonova was also, in my opinion, you have to try something, right? If you're just gonna sit there, that is also not gonna work. You have to try, I guess, a little bit. And if you look at the results and all that, I think that she just maximized and can be very happy. And she seemed to be very happy with her result as well.
Someone needs to take the initiative because else it would just be a mass sprint at the end. But I would definitely like to see just one race where Foucounet and Gery just both sit in. Like, it seems like last year at the World Championships when Clauzel and Foucounet just shot off in the women's race, a trend started where the French just started taking off like that in every race. And it's great that their starts are good because it's better to have a good start than a bad one. I don't think I'm making a crazy statement here. I think this is almost Will Buxton level of comment that came out of my mouth, but it's good. But I would like to see them for once like lay back and just sit in the wheels and see where it takes them and really try and push on that final laps. I mean, we kind of saw that with Foucounet and Zolder, right? When she took that win, she did take it easy and wait, and she needed to chase a bit, and then finally came that moment, like the penultimate lap. Foucounet, not necessarily a last lap rider, she needs a long high pace, almost same style as Lucinda Brandt and how they can win races. So Gery, I think, has more of a punch for a final lap push, but she's young, so we should give her time and let her grow and develop. But certainly Gery is heading towards that under 23 World Championships with confidence, because if you look like who are the main players there, Fleur Morse today 7th place. This is a good course for Morse. The technical aspect of the Worlds will be more difficult for her, but Morse today, hat off. Moved her way through the field, super good. Then we have Backset. This is not a great course for her. She came back from that wrist injury, but the coming back also only goes that far. Like, the number of weeks that there are left is 2. This doesn't have to mean anything. She can deliver on the one day. We know she has the skills. She's shown this season as well that she's capable of performing. But it needs to then come together. And that is a bit of a different situation than the last years that she started there. Bentveld, much like Van Alphen and Van der Heijden, totally on the downward trajectory. Van Alphen, Van der Heijden not racing the under 23 category, of course. And then you have Gladonova, who is on the up, but her starts is a problem. So that will be a very interesting dynamic there. There is a few other players, but they are more long shots and finishing even further down in the ranks at the moment. So it could be the opportunity for Gery. She will probably start there as the favorite following these performances. But I'm just saying this because I'm building towards that narrative, and the storylines are there. There's a lot of great storylines here on the women's side, especially with these young talents developing, and I think that they are very much being kept under the radar. They're swept under the rug. There's not really much attention for them. Brandt wins, headline is written sometimes, and for the rest we need to talk about how great Van der Poel is and how amazing Nice is, because he gifted Orts the podium. He raced for 2nd place, but he wanted to give Orts it, as just like at the European Championships last year. I don't know. I would just like to focus on these storylines here, and Gery did great, and we'll head there with a totally different situation, because the last 2 years it was quite clear that Backset was the big favorite. The year before it was super clear that Van Anrooij was the big favorite in Hogerheide, and now we have a lot of moving parts here with a lot of contenders, and the course conditions can really determine a lot. But for Gery, this is really, I think, I would go probably as far as say as the best ride of her career. Yes, Koppenberg was good. Yes, that was a 2nd place, but to me, this here at this point of the season, with everything, like everyone is there, to then be able to do this is really good.
But there is one thing. On 23 race is always a bit different. Now there is someone that wants to pull. There is a the race dynamic is also a bit different because it's more following than taking initiative. And I think that with the under 23 race, it's always going to be more where you have to play more tactical and certain elements that you didn't have now and that you normally do not have over the course of the season, because there are no under 23 races in a sense. So the racing will be different. That could influence the race, but I definitely agree with you that Gery is entering this race as a I think I can say it as a main favorite, because someone like Buckstead, that normally should have been the main favorite, is not delivering that level yet, and maybe that will come in the next week. I don't expect it, to be honest. I don't expect it either in at the World Championships, to be honest. But as you said, we don't know. She could deliver. It is possible, and the racing will be different. So maybe she will then have time to get into the race, which then maybe could help her out in terms of result and also playing a role in the race. So it is a different dynamic for sure, and it is going to be different when you have such a race. But I can definitely agree with you that Gery, if you look at the under 23 category, has had the biggest ups and the best showings overall. I think, yeah, I think I can say that on the women's side for sure.
I mean, she will probably be the big favorite, and that's only logical if you perform like this. And again, this is a second year under 23. I thought she would win the sprint from Fukune because this finish was nearly exactly the same as when she became world champion on the road, under 23. As a first year, ladies and gentlemen, just once again, just to stipulate how special of a talent this is, like really, really good. So it was a good ride by her and it was great to see. If we look at the entire top 10, Brandt, Alvarado, Fukune, Gery, Zemanova 5th, Van Anrooij 6th, ahead of Morse, Schreiber 8th, Vash 9th, and Backstead 10th. I think here, for me, Issam, Van Anrooij. Can we kind of conclude that this is then roughly her level? We had, or at least definitely I had, low expectations coming into the season. You had slightly higher but still modest expectations. Then we had the start of the Christmas period with 2 second places, really good race and ride as well in Antwerp. Then things kind of settled in a little bit, but can we now kind of conclude that this is roughly where she stands? She stands in this group roughly for 5th place, because that's where she's been finishing in most of the races here, which I think she can be very happy with. And she is also very happy because she has been acknowledging that coming back like this is kind of, for her as well, a surprise, because she too knew the challenges she would be facing having been out of the sport for such a time.
I think that my expectations were maybe a little bit higher. They were still not comparable to what she has been able to achieve this season, I think. I don't know where I said something like, is definitely, you're going to have your ups, you're also going to have maybe your dip left or right, and you don't know how your season will go overall, and you just have to try and progress through it as the best you can. And I think that she has done that, or tried to at least. And yeah, I think that I can only really agree with that point, that that is basically where her level is at. But I don't know if that is going to be the level that she will be at come Hulst, come World Championships. That is something that we have to wait and see in a sense. But I think for sure that for now it is, this is where she at. This is the level, and it's up to her now to see if there is any way to try and get that shape up and be good come World Championships. And that's the narrative that we are going to have. I guess we're going to say that a couple of times, and maybe also next weekend, where we're just going to be looking at riders and being like, what does this tell us? What is this going to mean? And I think that that is the nature of the period that we are in right now. That is how we are going to look at it, and that is how it's going to be, I guess, for years to come.
Yes, I mean, we don't know what the form anyone will have at the World Championships, and I mean, I spoke to several people today, and several riders were also saying, yeah, they felt fatigued. Others said they took some rest after the national championships. They trained before the nationals and weren't at their best there. So it's just different. And national coaches also alluding to that. I mean, I spoke to one of the Italian coaches today. He shared a number of things. For instance, first that Filippo Fontana, who didn't race today, will likely race. They'll maybe take 2 or 3 men elite, and that selection is still up in the air. On the women's side, they were very pleased today. I mean, Casasola didn't race today, but Lucia Bramati was having a really good ride. She was in the top 10, then finished 11th. Again, just off there, but is having a really good season. Garibaldi today, strong with the 12th place. So, I mean, I'm guessing they're going to take 3 women elite, Bramati, Garibaldi, and then also Casasola. There are a few other contenders as well, but they didn't have, or didn't create the impression that they had that much budget to bring that many people over. They also have a big talented junior squad that they want to bring. So that much on the Italians. We also shared that for the men under 23, the season of Mattia Agostinacchio is most likely over because he has an infection and is off the bike for 2 weeks. And I'm not fully sure if that happened before nationals or after, but they were at least very skeptical that he would still be able to race the World Championship. Sadly, he wasn't there today, so they have their hopes in the men under 23 category on Stefano Vietzi, but they said that he needs to work on his start, and we will venture to that in just a little bit, because for now I would like to stick on the women's side and talk a little bit more about some of the other results, just very briefly. Vash, I think, blew up, but we will see. Vash is typically always good the weekend before and the weekend of the championships, so let's see how that goes. Hladonova today, good ride. Doesn't have a good call-up. Moved her way through the field, 15th place in the end. I thought she would have finished 13th, but she dragged the group along, or she cut through multiple groups, and then the final one, a couple were able to hang with her and get her back in the end. But a good ride by her, something to build on for her. And yeah, I think for the rest, I already said it. The Van der Heijden and Van Alphen definitely tiredness catching up to them. The question is, how bad is that? I mean, both of them have something to show for this season, but I wouldn't feel too bullish at this moment if I were a gambling man, which I'm not, but I will be forced to make some predictions, and I wouldn't be too optimistic for both of them heading to the World Championships, just with how the last couple of weeks have been trending. Super, super difficult to turn that around, but we will see. Moving on then, now the men under 23 category. And Issam, you are not going to believe what I'm going to tell you here right now, but Oba Sparfel wasn't patient enough today. You know what he did? He waited for 2 laps, then hit the front, kept pacing for 3, 4, 5 laps. He was quite good actually. He was breaking away, but the off-camber was his weak spot. He lost 5-6 second lead there multiple times. Courses came back, and then coming into the final lap, he thought, shit, there's a Belgian on my wheel. I can't pull this climb. And as a result, Haverdings, who was 8 seconds down, came back together with Docs, and they went over Sparfel. Sparfel finishing 4th in the end. Haverdings winning, securing the overall win in the World Cup. Courses coming 2nd, ahead of Docs. Sparfel 4th. I mean, Sparfel just did the worst of 2 worlds here. First, I think it was kind of okay the way that he was racing, because he broke clear, but then couldn't have the technical finesse. He's not finesse enough. But then, like at that point, he was so committed, he should have just pulled the same stuff again. He was with Courses. Courses was kind of on the fence, like really dying to hang there, like just push through. But at that point, he didn't. And Haverdings, to his part, I mean, today I think it was a little bit lucky, but he's the most patient rider I know. Like, he just sat in that big group. And with big group, I mean, after 2 laps, there were 18 riders at the front of the race. But he sat at the front of that group. Once the group got smaller, he sat in the middle. In the chasing group, he sat in the middle. And he waited for the final 2.5 laps, cut through the group, put his foot down in the chase, went to 3rd place, put the pressure on. And then once he gets an opportunity, this season he doesn't let it slip. No fumbles for him in the 4th quarter red zone. No, he takes it. He throws for the touchdown. He walks into the end zone. He kicks the extra point, and he takes another win here. Impressive. I wouldn't have given much for him in the middle of the race, but just, again, 2 polar opposites. The way Sparfel races versus Haverdings, you can't really compare it. Courses, his legs seem to hold today. Docs, good course for him, therefore gets a good result. Vietzi, one of the strongest riders, but had a bad start. Those were my takeaways from the race here.
I can't believe it that Sparfel did what he did. I can't believe it. But no, but I think that is an issue. That is, honestly, it is an issue, because if you are in good form and you have the legs to perform well, I mean, you should not be considering there at that point. At that point, you just have to commit and just hope for the best. And you're like, okay, it will be 2nd. But at least it will be 2nd, because if I let everyone come back, it's easy math in a sense. You just kind of know that if you are the one that did the most work, you most likely are going to end up there last in their group. or that is just how it goes. That is how we have seen it unfold several times. And so if you are in a certain situation, you kind of know it's either gonna be first or second, or it's gonna be maybe fourth. You should not take that risk of fourth place unless I don't know, if you're with someone that you just really don't want to see win or whatever, and you're like, I'm not gonna pull for this guy, then maybe you can try and have those things. But I think for him, in his development, this is something that has to change, and this must be a focus for the French Federation. I think they know, in a sense, the
Yeah.
type of rider that he is.
Hmm.
They know. But what are you gonna do?
No, but what do I hear along the course? Kalm, Aubin, lentement.
Tranquille.
Think, Aubin, tranquille, tranquille. Like, everyone is telling him. It's not like the staff isn't trying and doesn't see this shortcoming, but I just need to think back to that quote that he gave Direct Velo last week after the French Championships. I have a lot to learn, and I think that much is true, and it's fine. I mean, he's still young. He is a second year under 23. He has the right to make mistakes, but I would hope that he can learn a bit from this, because this is not the first time this season. There are courses when it's super muddy, super difficult, that you can perfectly get away with this, like Muddy Besançon, Koppenberg, race like this all you want. But if it's a Benidorm, if it's a Dendermonde, if it's even a course like Middelkerke, the European Championships, you need to sometimes race a bit more with your head, and that is Aubin's, or Sparvel's, sorry, biggest shortcoming at this point. But yeah, I would encourage everyone to turn on the TV at the World Championships and watch this race. And maybe then you will think I'm crazy, because maybe that day Sparvel just sits in and wins in the sprint. He has a very good sprint. And that would be fine. And that would be fine, because I'm not making this stuff up. Just look at the live timing. But this race was a cracker. It was a real good one. It was really tense until the last moment. There were a number of good battles. I mean, 18 riders for the first two laps, dynamics going back and forth. The Bruikere completely blowing up. He was with Haverings for most of the time. I mean, Corses, I'm still quite bullish on him as well. He's had that injury this year, and for Corses, I'm coming to the same point as I was for Haverings. Like, he's talented, he has some of these results, but next year he will need to show it. Like, for Haverings this year, there was high stakes, high pressure. Next year, that will be Corses in that situation. Final year under 23. The talent is there. People have invested in him. People believe in him. But then it's time to also show. Like, get the results and show for it. And, I mean, Corses is not having a bad season by any means. And, as I said, I am a big believer in his talent. The technical skill he has is nearly unmatched. But at some point for Corses, it's also time to win one of these races, because many times he's been up there, today as well. He overtook Dox at the end with a very impressive display of mental resilience. Not easy, but he'll need to do it. And for Dox, I've said that before as well, he's more and more a road rider, and you could see that today. Same for Piscio. Piscio having one of his better races this season, but also by the virtue of this being a road race. But yeah, I guess just the final point here to reiterate, Vietzi, don't count him out. If he can not be 30th after the start at the World Championships, and maybe if he is a bit lucky with the weather, he can finally do a real good race and really put it together. Which today happened in the junior women's category. Giorgia Pellizotti. It is possible to beat Lise Revol apparently, but it takes quite a lot, because Revol set off fastest start, kind of race like always, opened a 10-second gap, but then the gap stagnated there. Pellizotti was 6 seconds down. Every lap on the road climb she came back. Then Revol put in another push, but that stopped in the last lap. Pellizotti closed the gap completely, attacked over Revol. They were together for the entire final lap. Revol tried to put in an attack on the lower part of the course, couldn't drop Pellizotti. It was a sprint in which Revol had nothing left. Pellizotti sprinted to the win ahead of Revol. Bukowska, it's a bit like watching Clara Honsinger, but worse. Super far down after the start, like 28th. Cut her way through the field to third, which is where she finished in the end. She could have done well today, but she was so far down in the first lap that from then on it didn't really matter anymore how good the lap times were, and she then cruised a bit at the end. This is predictable. This is how it's been a number of seasons. This is how the World Championships will play out. I spoke with Revol after the race. I'm actually proud because I did the entire interview in French and she only once needed to ask me what I meant with one of my questions. So the Duolingo streak is starting to pay off here, but no, a ride by Revol, and what she told me was that she felt fatigued. The colleague from Direct Velo asked if she was taking a rest after the national. She said, no, I did quite high intensity training this week. I trust the process. I spoke with national coach Francois. I spoke with my normal trainer, and we just figured, like last year, we just built towards the World Championships. I'm happy I secured the overall World Cup win here today. No problem for me. But I felt tired from all the training, did a lot of riding on the road this week, and I trust that I will be at my best form for the World Championships. But this made me realize that I will need to be at my best form to beat Bukowska, Pellizotti, and potentially some others. And with others, she meant the French, because all 4 French junior women finished in the top 6 of this race. The Italians and the French definitely having a great day today.
I think with Revol, it's definitely come World Championships. I don't think that Pellizotti will have it, in a sense, because we have said it before. We're gonna repeat it and again and again and again. It's just. We are repeating it, and I guess you found out as well, in a sense, that with Revol there must have been some fatigue that played a role in that result. And come Hulst, normally she should still be the main favorite and should be winning, I wouldn't say with ease, but should be winning with a margin. And that is what she should aim for as well, because that is how it has been playing out. And it's just a shame that someone like Bukowska, that we kind of know has it in her to, race up front and race well, that just the start is killing her so much, and that is just something that hasn't been improving over the last 2 years, at least, that we've seen her here in the junior category. And that's a shame, really, because I think if it wasn't for the start, I think that there are a lot more possibilities, in a sense, of how your race will go. And you said it before, with it is such an advantage if you're able to start so well. So I think that this is a race this is a category, at least, which is heading towards maybe a predictable result, but you still don't really know. There are some factors, there are some elements that maybe could play a role. Maybe Revol is not going to be great in Hulst, and what is that then going to mean for the opposition? So there are some question marks, but I think that for the Rainbow Stripes and the fight for that, I think the questions are not going to be that much as they are going to be for second and third.
Well, I do still believe that Bukowska can piece it together, but let me say this about Giorgia Pellizotti, Issam. I think this win can be career-altering for her, because I don't know if you necessarily remember, and certainly most listeners won't, but think back to Federica Venturelli. 2021-2023 was her span in cyclocross. Junior woman, Italy. Yeah. She was close so many times. She got a podium as a first year in Tabor in the World Cup, and then she got 5th at the World Championships that year. But she was close to the podium like so many times after that. There in Fayetteville, she was hanging there but couldn't beat Molengraaf. In the World Cup, she was so close so many times. The next year, she was unable to replicate that first World Cup success. But she was always up there, here in Benidorm, but then the Holmgren sisters passed her at the end, a mistake, and Corvi comes by, national championships, and she can't deliver on the day. Corvi beats her, another rider beats her. And then when the World Championships came, the writing was on the wall. Like that sprint there for third against Gery, who was a year younger than her, you knew she wasn't going to win it. And that's how the story of her season unfolded back then. Like, every time she was up there, but it never really hit the jackpot anymore, like in the first race. And for Pellizotti, the story is somewhat different, but has many similarities, right? Like, she started well. She got a podium in her first big international race, the European Championships last year. And then she wasn't able to replicate that. She wasn't bad, but there was always something like a mechanical or a crash or a slip. Last year at the Italian Championships, she was somewhat the favorite, but Elisa Ferri, another strong rider, beat her. World Championships, good day, but not special. 9th place. This year, she got those podiums. That's where she's different. But for the win, yeah, she wasn't never that close. But then came the championships, Italian championships, outright favorite, couldn't land it. But now she did. And I just think that in this specific case, the mental aspect of being able to finish off such a race for her will really move her. Because I also saw her race in Lunhout in the Christmas period. And there was a big leading group. And Pellizotti has beaten all those riders numerous times this season. But she finished third in the end. She didn't have the finesse, didn't have it in the sprint against Roach and Versluis, didn't have it to make the move earlier in the race. But now, she kept believing, like, she kept seeing Revol, she kept pushing. As soon as she got on that wheel, bam, attack. Like, it's almost like there's a different, like, rider that I saw today. And, I mean, the Italians are known to be more passionate, but the scream when she crossed the finish line, I could hear it and I was quite far away. She was super happy. Like, it was louder than Lejeune. Like, you see it more occasionally with the Italians and the French is what I mean in the comparison to Lejeune, but still, I think it could really alter for her the way that she goes to the World Championships with belief. And I'm not going to say it's easy because I agree with you that the Revol should be the favorite, but I do think that for Pellizotti, maybe now finally there's a different mentality, you know, like a different belief. Not necessarily mentality that she was not really willing to do it or able to dig deep, but more a different mental state, like a more confident state that she can do it. And unlike Venturelli, where you just knew like, okay, yeah, that will be another fourth place. Just like we saw that season with her on the track a lot.
It opens those possibilities in a sense, because when you are finally able to reach the unreachable in a sense, it's not any longer a hurdle that you have to cross in a sense. You know it's possible. You know that you are able to achieve it, and the belief will grow, and it's not going to have a huge influence on your performance, but it will have an influence on smaller moments in a race maybe that are at times crucial for, that could even be results, altering in a sense, that could have a real influence in the race, and on how the race will be going. Just fighting for corners, trying to chase, trying to follow. Those are just things that you're like, I cannot follow. I should just back off a little bit and try to regroup. And maybe at the end of the race, you're like, well, I had the pace maybe to follow. It was possible, and that could have been the difference between maybe fighting for first or securing second. So I think I see what you mean. I see your point. I still would say that Revol for me favorite, but I can understand that could maybe, if everything goes right, that's what I somewhat said. That's just, you don't know how the racing will go. The race has to be ridden. A lot of is possible, especially in cyclocross. So you don't know how it will go. You have to be very strong to beat the Revol on a good day.
Well, even if it doesn't give her
It's
the
gonna
world
take a
title,
lot.
no, but even if it doesn't give her the world title, Issam, it will help her in her further career trajectory.
In a career
I think.
overall,
So
yeah.
that much about that race. Another Italian win, and I can't believe it, but on the podium they cut off the second hymn of the Italian anthem, like the best part. The best part of Fidere Italia was cut off for no reason, because they were not in a rush. There was plenty of time. Whatever. It doesn't matter that much, but the Italians were definitely confused when they were trying to continue singing. But in the men's junior race, another Italian won, Patrick Pezzo-Rosola, making it 2 wins in a row. I guess we can start calling him a bit of a fast course specialist, because he also won the Italian title. He's fully recovered from causing that start crash in Diegem, where he wiped out half of the junior men's field. But Patrick Pezzo-Rosola today took off.
You're not gonna let that slide, are you?
No, that's a great. It was. I mean, again, it's a young rider. Everyone can make mistakes, whatever. But that was a nasty crash, and he won in Dendermonde, won the Italian championships, and won here in Benidorm. It was a relatively long solo today. He broke clear with a powerful attack. He opened the gap over the stairs, then attacked. Grigolini not too eager to respond. Rosola, I think, also benefited from a good start today. Grigolini didn't have a good start. Brière-Joumard didn't have a good start. Noval Suarez doesn't have a good call-up and didn't have a good start. Needed to move their way through the field. Lejeune up there made a mistake, then kind of came back into the race. But Roselaar didn't need to waste all that energy, placed an attack, opened a quite large gap. Lejeune in the penultimate lap made an all or nothing move to bridge across a 13-second gap. He came as close as 3 seconds, then couldn't do it, but held enough in the tank to beat Grigolini. Grigolini out sprinting just on the line Noval Suarez for third place. I don't really have too much to say here. It was an honest race, a brutal race, a powerful race. Gilles Lejeune reminds me of Toon Aerts because sometimes he's more calm when he needs to come back from a mistake and move his way through the field. But even then, like, Lejeune needs to work on his patience. I saw a couple of overtakes, which I'm not a fan of. Like, brother, take it easy, overtake them on the straightaway. You don't need to dive bomb them here. It's not going to gain you everything, but you can easily crash, rip your derailleur, put this guy in the fence, and then both of you go down. Like, a bit of a breather sometimes. Again, I've said this before last week. There's a lot of pressure on this guy. I don't know how much of it is self-inflicted. There is a large fan club of Gilles Lejeune fans everywhere. He kind of has his own mechanics crew in the pits on the day of the training that are all wearing mechanic of Gilles Lejeune outfit, whereas the rest of the Belgian team is just with the Belgian mechanics. It's sometimes from the outside a little bit over the top when you see it, but that's how it is in Belgium. So I don't know if the pressure is therefore also self-inflicted. For Thibaut Nys, all of the pressure was self-inflicted. I mean, they invited the TV crew to create a real-life TV series about him when he was this age. So definitely the biggest Belgian star in many ways coming through the ranks since Thibaut Nys, but we'll see where it takes him. For now, the Italians rule. I mean, again, I've said it a few times now, but another good day for them. I mean, 3 riders in the top 10 here. Cincolani was in there. It's a 4th guy in the top 15, a 5th guy in the top 20. Like, impressive results for the Italian all around the board. The French today, Bruyère-Joumard, he already didn't have a great day. Kind of blew himself up on that road climb, trying to make some moves early on to come back from a bad start. Then crashed, had a mechanical, game over for him. Delano Heroes off the front in the beginning crashed in one of those puddles at the top, covered in mud, then recovered to 5th place. The 3 guys up front, they are the main riders of the entire season. Roselaar, Lejeune and Grigolini. Joumard and Noval definitely have it in them to beat them, but everything needs to fall in place for them, and this year it hasn't yet for both. I mean, for Joumard it has, but not recently.
Lejeune making a mistake, that's not new, and I think those two, that duo of Pezzorosola and Grigolini, I think that if you are the head coach of the Italian squad, you should make sure that those two will have an understanding of how they will race on the World Championships, because it could maybe help them out, and you just gotta hope that for Lejeune that he is not going to succumb to the pressure that he might have put himself up with, or that has been done by his entourage and the people around him. But you just kind of hope that that will not cost him, because he's a talented lad. He's a rider that has the potential definitely to grow into a great athlete, and that can have his own career in cyclocross. But these are things that are just not going to help you all too much, and you will it could cost you in a sense. So you gotta just try and be normal, and try to make the best out of it, and you just gotta hope that will work out. And who knows, maybe he will come world champion, and then the pressure will really start to mount, because then it will be the entirety of Belgium that will kind of notice him, and not only that small part that is noticing him right now and his fan base and all that. So are you seeing any names in the junior category that are maybe a bit further down that you like, that you maybe saw a sign or two? Joumard, you've talked about him already, but maybe you like, don't sleep all too much on him come Hulst.
No, I mean, it's really these guys. There's really these guys as I'm like, I'm not a big believer at the moment in a title for Lejeune. I will make my conclusions when I see more of the course, but so far what I've seen this season is that he's physically outclassed by Grigolini and Pezzorosola, and Pontoni can be very happy with the results of his riders. And I mean, yeah, today Soen Le Pen was good until he made a mistake. He really seemed his best race of the season, but yeah, I just think it's hard to really go against the trend. Like Benjamin Noel Suarez has the power, but does he have the start position? Does he have the start itself? Difficult to see. I mean, the World Championships, a lot can happen, especially in this age category, but it's really been these riders, and I would be stunned if anybody else can really get a foothold down there. So I am seeing already for next year the next Italians kind of coming up, like Francesco Del Olio, 9th place here. He was also good in Diegem, 4th place, 6th in Dendermonde. Like, is this then immediately the next guy, Tommaso Cincolani, another solid outing by him? He was 8th in Baal, 10th in Dendermonde, 10th in Zolder. Like, the Italians, I don't know what they're feeding them, but boy, would I love some of that for the next time I'm here in Spain to ride. I mean, my fitness is better than last year, but if I would have had some of that, I would have flown up Col de Rat. But now, the steep part at the end, I was just scrolling, the Super Rat section. So, no, it's just good, I think, to see. And I spoke, as said, with the Italian coach, and he's like, yeah, in the elite category, we don't have the level yet. I'm like, what do you mean? Yeah, we fight maybe for 9th or 10th, but as a federation, we set the goal in a few years that we want to fight for podium, like Viezzi, Agostinacchio, and now also in the junior Pezzorosola, Grigolini. We need to keep helping them, keep building. Pelizzotti, Nicola Zetti, we need to help them. They need to become top 5 in the elite category. We want to come back to that level that we can have that. So definitely high ambitions there for that part in the sense that they are very excited and really have high standards, but they're also progressing in that way, so I can't really blame them. But yeah, it's been a good one.
Definitely has. I think a lot of countries can learn something from that, or could use the way they are trying to develop their riders and the structure that they're trying to set up. I think there is definitely some parts of it that you can take over and learn from, and because it has been very impressive how that development has been. There's been a lot of work put in behind the scenes as well, things that I haven't seen, but it is a great development overall, and Italy is definitely a country that you want to see up there with the very best in cyclocross. And it all starts at the junior categories. It all starts there when youth of development. That's where you have to be, in a sense, and from there on you can have those ambitions into the elite categories. And it seems that they understand that concept, and hopefully it comes out, because, as I said, I think that it is great to have riders representing a country as Italy at the front of a cyclocross race with the very best. That would be, we have seen that in the past, and it was not really there for a while, and hopefully that will now, on the women's side with Casasola for sure, and there is also something coming up there, but on the men's side as well, it's really lacking. And with the rich history that is there, in a sense, you just hope that will get better. And you can definitely hope, because it is possible. There is definitely something there. There are signs, and who knows? Hopefully that is going into the right direction.
That's a whole different other podcast episode, which we'll save for the future. And for now, we will end this episode. Issam, thank you so much.
Yeah. AFCON final is about to start, so hopefully Morocco will pull it off against Senegal final, and hopefully that will be the best 90 minutes of my life so far. It could also be the worst, so bear with me.
My guy has big expectations, but maybe tomorrow. The last time he spoke about AFCON on this podcast, he read on the internet that an entire staff had been fired by the Minister of Sport. So maybe tomorrow you're put out of a job, Issam. For jinxing it, you'll just read Issam relieved from Cyclocross Social podcast to continue with just myself. But I don't want that, and I'm not putting that out. It would come from the Minister of Sports from Morocco. So
yeah, most likely.
Okay, well.
Yeah, so hopefully that will be all right. We all will find out about that. And thank you for having me. It was a great weekend of racing, or at least the Sunday. But Yeah, it was good to see Benidorm back on our screens, and hopefully the next couple of weeks will be great. And it's all, the worlds are there. They're right there.
Yep. We'll be back with more podcasts soon. Thank you everyone for listening. Catch you guys soon and goodbye.